Okay, so I'm joined here today by Sam BooCull Molloy, um, currently the IGL for UCD B team, who are second in Icespring 2021. You can find my articles about that on ICL. They're complete and utter trash. They're very, very dry. But anyway, former creative director for Belfast Storm, formerly NSG, former social media manager for ICE, and writes his own shit posty blogs where he talks about himself in the third person every now and again. And you can tell he's probably a bit of an egomaniac. I'm hoping this is I'm hoping this is the first of many podcasts called the Fleming Chronicles. It's very egotistical as well, the name, as if I'm going to be some sort of reporter of fact or anything. But how's it
Irish
going?
Richard Lewis.
Yeah, a journalist in a scene where not a whole lot well, actually, no. I'm pretty much like TMZ, you know, if you want to do Irish drama, that's all you can really do. But how's it going, Sam?
All good. Yeah, I'm excited for this. Talk a little bit of shit, see what happens.
Yeah, not definitely. It's well, I'll say it's late. I was hoping to do this earlier, but then I just kept like, you know, other half's family was around and all, and I'm just like, oh, this guy's gonna hate me. I'm just constantly fobbing him off.
No, we're interviewing me. I've interviewed me, so this is great.
You've interviewed you?
Yeah, when you're saying I was an egomaniac, you weren't lying. On UCD B team, the shitpost website, I've interviewed myself as myself, and obviously I had nice things to say.
Yeah, well, so I'm guessing, or obviously it was all in text then, because
Yeah.
whenever you reached out to me, the wording, so obviously, you know, to do something like this, you have to have a certain level of ego. You have to have a certain level of like, people want to talk to me. Yeah. So whenever I looked at your tweet, you know, saying, oh, I'd love to do an interview sometime, I'm like, oh, he wants to interview me.
I wasn't sure if you were going to interpret that. I was like, this nerd's going to think I want to interview him. But no, of course. Why would I?
Why would you give someone else a platform?
Exactly.
So when I'm messaging you, I'm like, oh shit, he wants me to interview him. And I'm like, I could interview me. Because Thorin did it. Thorin did it once where he recorded himself giving the answers.
Yeah.
And then the questions and cut it together. And I'm like, oh, that's a banging idea right there. So
I'd love to do that, but I know I'd just end up stirring too much shit because I'd run out of things to say and just start talking shite.
Yeah, about your fellow players. But anyway, we'll actually get onto some rough questions here. I mean, it's gonna be very loose. You know, we'll probably tangents galore. Hopefully not run it on too long because my voice can get a bit repetitive after a certain while. And I think this is the first time me and you have ever actually talked one-on-one. So
it's true.
Yeah, unless it's about like friends and shit like that. But anyway, yeah. So I'll start off with like, we're gonna go through your history a little bit because despite what we may think, I don't think anyone really cares about our opinions on the scene. So we'll save that to a little bit at the end where people have probably already tuned out and stuff like that. But we'll just start off like, when did you get into playing CS? And not the competitive side more so, but just, you know, when was your first time picking it up and what drove you to that point? What drove you to that insanity?
So I started in like 2012, 2013. But not with Counter-Strike. I actually found a browser, like an online version of a knockoff called Critical Strike Portable.
I think I heard of that.
Yeah, it was like on Congregate or one of those, like, you know, those online free games that had all the ads. It was on one of those, and I used to grind that. It was like sort of sourcey mechanics, so similar enough to Counter-Strike, so it transferred pretty easily. And it's like CS Simpsons, so like Homer Simpson's house was a map and stuff like that. Like, it was stupid, but like it kind of what put me onto FPS, and then started just playing Minecraft one day. CSGO was like on sale. It's like, give it a go, and I just played casual forever because was it like level 3 or level 5 in CSGO you have to reach before you can play competitive?
Oh, back then, no, I think back then could you not just jump in? I think whenever I got it in 2015, I think you could just jump in because I remember doing it. Went horribly, but
yeah, well, it took me a while anyway. Maybe I just didn't do competitive. But Like I couldn't get a headshot. I was just playing casual, and like you play with your mates in a Skype call because Discord wasn't really a thing back then, and they'd like say where the enemies are because it's casual, you could spectate everyone. So we just kind of did that shit. And actually, I didn't even play competitive for a long time.
Yeah.
I think I was first place like Gold Nova 2, which is like above average, so I'll take it.
Yeah, it's fucking good for you. I think my first rank, Counter-Strike was my first FPS game. Got a PC strictly just to play Counter-Strike. I watched NIP win Cologne and I was like, right, that's it. So I got it, and like, like those cheap Asda wireless stuff as well. I think I got placed in the silver one. So started at the bottom, now I'm supreme,
Now you're here. God.
That's a lesson for everyone.
It's a glow up.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then when did you start transitioning and thinking about, teams and tournaments and stuff like that?
Well, as we've established, I've got an ego, and I think it's hilarious to have an ego. So I just assumed that like I was better than everyone at every rank. So as I slowly started getting up and up, there was like one weekend where I went from like Gold Nova 2 to like MG, and I was like grinding, and I was like, God, like I'm insane, I'm untouchable. So I started looking through like Reddit forums, like there's a CSGO team finder or something.
Yeah, they were horrible back in the day.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, God, someone's got to sign me, man. MG in a week, like untouchable.
700 hours, lads.
To be fair, it probably took me a lot longer than 700 hours to get there. Like I'm just under 5k hours now, and I'm on a B team, so it shows you how far I've come. It took me a while. I had a team, actually my LAN team. I was Gold Nova for. I went to a GamerCon.
Wait, you were at GamerCon as well?
I was naturally tilted.
We didn't play you guys. No, we didn't play you guys. But I remember that was such a shit show.
We got lucky. We got to use the PCs, which we paid for, but not everyone got so lucky at that.
What do you mean you paid for?
Well, you like obviously you pay for the esports ticket, and like you're meant to use their PCs, but like the shit show of GameCon was no one could actually get onto the PCs.
There was 4 rows, I think, of PCs that worked properly.
It was a disaster. Actually, funny story on that. We technically got semi-finals at GamerCon, right? So we played one match, got the semis. We came up against couldn't tell you who it was, but like there were 3 Irish, 2 Swedish imports, like face at level 10s. They're just gods.
Wait, they weren't a bunch of young. No, they weren't youngins, were they? No.
Well, I was a youngin back there, so yeah, they're probably old to me back then.
Yeah.
And they 16-1'd us on LAN. We won one round. We actually had a really good player. I don't know if you've been around the scene long enough, you'll remember Static.
No, I don't think so. No.
There's Static Interflow, and then there's Static. This Static guy, we'd never met him before. We'd honestly played one map of him. We just posted in CSGO Ireland Facebook group saying we're just like a fuck about team. Anyone want to join? We were Gold Novas. It was like the day after Paddy's Day. He was hungover to fuck. Couldn't eat breakfast with us, so we just had a coffee and went for it. Won a 1v1 on LAN. We screamed.
Yeah. I'm so happy to hear that though, because other teams were so quiet. I think our game that we won, like we lost everything, but people sort of knew us anyway because we kept going to things and screaming when we went around. And we played Ivanov's team.
Oh yeah,
Ventic was on that and all. And I remember I won like a 1v2. I was just strafing back and forth to the 5-7. That's how trash it was. Spamming it. I won it, stood up, fucking fist into the desk, screaming. Calvo jumps up beside me. We high five. My voice breaks and I don't care. And then I hear from Ventic later, like that tilted Ivanov off the face of the planet. Like he was so angry.
Yeah, I mean, our one round, I screamed the place down, and they were looking at us because they were so calm. They were winning 15 or whatever it was, and they're like, "This is so easy. Like these guys are like tilted. We're having the time of our lives." It's great.
It's great because you're expecting to lose almost, so you're like, whatever we get out of this, run with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And after that we lost. We got a subway, and then found that the next 2 teams had dropped out. They dodged.
That's ridiculous. Was that because like it went on to the Sunday then as well? Like,
Yeah, so it was like we were in the lower bracket, and then as it happens, like obviously the other team had lost as well. They must have just given up and went home because we were told by admin, "Yeah, you're through to whatever the next stage is," and we're like, "Cool, all right." And then we were told, "Yeah, the next team as well also did the same thing. So congratulations, see you on Sunday. You're in the semis." And at that stage, we were like, "Well, we got the semis. We're not coming in tomorrow." Because obviously I'm from Wicklow, so it's a trek to come up all the way up to the convention
how
center.
far is that? Because my Northern Irish geography
Not
is
as far as
unreal.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as far for you, but, it was well, we had to get a train, it was probably, like, in total about an hour or something. Like, none of us drive, so, like, it was an hour and a half, but, like, still bringing up keyboards. Some people were coming further than me as well,
Yeah.
like some of the teammates. So it's just a trek, and we're like, "Oh, fuck it." Like, when we come up, we get 16 out on LAN, So, yeah, semi-finalist.
I mean, yeah. I wish we had it as easy a run as that. We played that one game against Ivanov, got through, and then they were like, right, you're going to have to come back Sunday. And it's like, what do you mean we played one game? It's like, no, you're coming back Sunday. Two of our players drop out. We managed to convince Fletcher, because he was going to be hanging around anywhere. We managed to convince him to be our IGL. And then Long, who's playing, so he's in De Montfort in England.
Hmm.
Arrives in Dublin at 1 in the morning, gets home for 4 in the morning, meets us in Enniskillen at the bus station at 6 in the morning, on the bus down to Dublin to get banged out by a bunch of Polish players to get back on the bus. No, actually, tell a lie. In between that, Fletcher left us. We took Ventake and we played a 5v5 against Curdy and Complex's team back in the day. Those Fox ones, I think it was.
Yes,
Like
yeah,
Curdy,
I remember that, yeah.
Complex, Jack.
They were young lads.
Yeah,
Complex
Jack
was
was
very
part of
young.
that, and then Sketch, and then basically those ones, and then back up. He's such a trooper for doing that. Like that
Yeah.
LAN was such a shit show.
Man, it's disaster. Do you remember like the lines outside the convention center? Thousands of kids just crying. We're just playing games.
Yeah, and then you have kids coming along, and then like, so you get up, like, you log in your thing. You're like, right, I'm away for a piss. The rest of your team go to do your vetoes and stuff. You come back, some random kid is sat at your computer with like his dad beside him, being like, "Oh, he thinks he's demoing one of the games," and you're like, "No, mate, you're on my Steam account. Get the hell off that,
Yeah.
Don't be buying that shit."
Oh god. Yeah, I mean, I actually went to one of the old G series, and like everyone brought their own stuff.
Yeah,
Like I was very young, and I didn't even have a proper keyboard, like a Dell keyboard. So I just when every players weren't at their desk, I'd go over and just play with them.
start
You just
playing
tap
on
because
this.
the noise. I was like, yeah, no one's around. So I was one of those kids.
Oh, you're an asshole. So you and your merry band of shitters go to GamerCon. And then from there, do you just start doing like how long was it before you end up doing, like your ice and your raid and like your proper, well, not proper teams because Irish CS is full of mixes, but you know what I mean? You're slightly more serious. Maybe you practice once every 2 weeks or something like that.
So what? That was 2017 for GamerCon. So I would have been fifth or sixth year or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was coming up to college, and I think it was probably just around the time when I was finishing secondary school that I'd known of some other players who were like not prominent in the scene at all. Actually, I don't even know why I would say that, but they were like they played in ICL. People would know of them. Quigs, and HC. And then like and one of the Connors, not the good one, actually one of the bad ones.
Yeah. So actually, I think I have. Is this the same people you played raid with in Big Boys? Connor. So I have here. Obviously, there's 5 people here, so maybe you switch one about. But Connor, ZNK, HZ, EN16M4, whoever the fuck that is, and Quigs.
Oh, Enigma.
Yeah. Oh, that's almost as bad as that guy called like the loveliest unicorn ever, the silliest unicorn.
The silliest unicorn. He's actually cracked.
Oh, I've heard that. Every time I've been to someone,
yeah.
that cunt needs to change his name. Like he's doing my nutting, writing these articles.
So many people that could rebrand themselves in ice, I would say. But,
yeah, you're telling me.
But yeah, no, that rings a bell. Yeah, so I played just before coming to college. Me, Quigs, HC, Harry, and then Connor, and then one of my other friends, Mushimaka.
Yes, he's
We
still
were like,
playing in ice at the moment, isn't he?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
he's actually on my team. We were we played for a while. We were thinking maybe entering some sort of cup, or I guess it was this,
Yeah.
and then seeing if we could do a ECA or something. And then we all ended up, like most of us ended up going to the same college.
Oh,
And
happy
back then
days.
in ice, you used to be able to have one import from and not from that didn't go to your college.
Okay, but
So
did they have to go to a college, or it could just be?
yes,
Oh,
yeah,
right. Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
So what that meant for us was we could actually have that exact same team because Quigs went to Trinity, we all went to UCD.
Yeah.
So we just built that team again, and we had all of us, and that was the first UCD B team. And then like I'd actually, well, yeah, I'd actually known of Incipients and
Yeah.
that original UCDA team because I went to LAN with one of the former players there.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was he was a Gold Nova back then, um, and uh, and yeah, I filled in for them for a scrim once, got to know those guys, and then we set up the B team from there.
So obviously you're in B team at the moment still. Have you been in B team the whole time?
Oof. So there's a story there. So yeah, so we were the first B team, and to be fair, it was warranted. They were a good team. Like
Yeah,
UCD are
yeah,
pretty much cursed for second. Um, and yeah, up until this season, like they seemed kind of untouchable. There was no one they could reasonably replace.
yeah,
And then this season, I think some of the players had a bit of a falling out because of last season,
yeah,
and there was for a period of 24 hours a space on the team,
yeah.
and I was brought onto the team, but then immediately kicked because they fixed things with your man, and he came back.
Yeah. Oh,
um,
because I was reading your blog, and where you removed two people and you were bringing two people in, and then you had a bit where you had taken a DM from Incipients
yeah,
about
yeah,
you like joining or whatever and stuck it in there. I'm just like, has this man chosen the whole time? Like, has he made this much of a meme about UCDB team? He's got the URL and all that sort of crap that he's just
yeah.
decided, okay, I will be the top dog in a smaller pond.
To be fair, like it's an interesting question because like I kind of figured that I was going to get offered a position on the A team.
Yeah,
Didn't think I'd get kicked immediately, but I figured it was a discussion that was going to be had and a decision that had to be made.
yeah,
And I actually didn't decide. Like I hadn't. I did end up leaning towards because I thought playing better players, I'll
yeah,
improve. It'll be a bit of crack. But like honestly, like I do enjoy having my own team. You
yeah,
know, like not only the captain, but like I have my own vision, so I call the strats. I know these guys really well. Like Mushimaka, I've teamed with since 2015.
yeah,
Like I know the guys really well, and like as it actually happened, it was the right call, even though I got kicked.
yeah,
Yeah, like landing on this B team, it's actually like the best B team we've had
yeah,
in forever. We've like it's no longer it's B team only in name is what I say because our actual average level is level 8, level 7, something like that.
yeah.
So we're actually like a decent enough team.
And would you say this B team can compare, like, can be better than previous A teams, or even like I'm not gonna get you to start war with your fellow
I'll
UCD
start war, man.
teams.
Just let me
But
am.
anyway, like, do you think that this B team can compare or be better than previous A teams or even this A team?
I mean, back so the old A team, they obviously when they started college, they weren't as good as they are now. They've
Yeah,
they've gotten a lot better over the years, and they had different lineups throughout the years. Like they were level 5s, level 6s. They
yeah,
weren't
yeah,
great when they started. And actually, before TUD came in and won everything, it actually used to be Trinity, one of the old Trinity lineups with Ekip and
yes,
God of Fire and people like that that used to win everything. And UCDA could never beat them ever. They lost in the
yeah, yeah.
finals, and we were actually the first team to beat Trinity back in the day on a best of one Dust 2. I did get the MVP before you ask, yes. And
Naturally, the
yeah,
IGL, the man who makes
of
everything work.
course. Actually, to be fair, I didn't IGL that one. But but yeah, so I'd say like now we're definitely better than the old line. And to be honest, just to throw a little bit of spice in there, I actually think this season we'd give them a good run for their money.
I mean, because you are obviously progressing quite well. You have two
Yeah.
wins, and UCD or UCD Leviathans, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically. It's not a question of if they make it; it's a question of how big of a gap can they
Mm.
have to make it out of their group. At the moment,
Yeah.
at least, because it's between them and NCI Panthers, so it's sort of
Yeah.
like, you know,
Do you know, I actually think NCI could have a really good shot against them.
Yeah,
Obviously, I'm friends with a lot of UCD guys. I
yeah,
really
yeah.
rate them as people and as players. But I think like NCI, like Comeback King alone is a really, really solid player. Like him on a day can really give him a show.
Yeah, another person whose name absolutely baffles me, the fact that, because, like, intent, wink, wink. But anyway,
Yeah.
like, no, it's quite interesting because I sort of diffed out before, I really paid attention to any of this sort of thing. It's only because I know people now who are in ice that I thought, you know what, it's probably time. It's Return of the King.
Mm.
Might as well come back and sort of, keep an eye on things. And just, I'll be honest, it's so boring almost,
Yeah.
because every group is so defined. You have the people who are fighting not to be bottom, and then you have
Yeah.
the people who, like, is it group C, QB,
My group.
QBers or back
Yeah.
six, one of the two, can't remember which. And it's just like they're so far ahead of the other. Well, you're in that team, aren't you? In
Yeah.
that group,
Actually,
sorry.
that's an interesting point. I would say they are, to be fair, they're two really, really good players. Watching them play, watching their demos and stuff.
Yeah,
Up with us, they're really like it's between us and them as first and second in our group. But I
yeah,
see what you mean. Like Group D, UCD, NCI, like that's so obvious. Like, and the rest of them maybe third, fourth doesn't matter. Who's going to
yeah.
care?
Exactly.
And then
Isn't
like
it? It's top four, isn't it, out of each group? Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
there's they kind of have everything really top heavy for Group A, which is UCC, TD, and back six.
yeah.
Like that's unreal. Like what? Put one of them in our group and make it a bit more fair. Just
Yeah, I
get going.
mean, to be fair to Ice, it seems like everything is reasonably well seated. Like you may say, A is quite stacked, but if you look
Mm.
at each group, there are clear winners and there are very, very clear losers. I was talking to one of the guys from Ulster Unicorns, and they were like, "Oh man, like we need to beat Pentabyte. We need to beat
Yeah,
Pentabyte because if we don't, this is one of the teams we have to beat to get through." I was just like, "Would you stop fucking worrying?"
yeah,
Like I'm looking at these scores like week in, week out.
yeah,
You have these guys, like, you know what I mean? And it seems to be seeded. Obviously, yeah, as I said, apart from the way some of the groups are more stacked than others, at least you have these sort of clear things. It makes it boring from a spectator's point of view, somewhat, but from a competitor's point of view, you know what I mean? You don't want one group that has, you know, you could, if it was seeded worse, you could have a group where one of the good teams has to go. But the way
yeah,
they've done it, you are going to have all the good teams in the playoffs, hopefully,
yeah,
to make it more interesting.
yeah. I mean, also to be fair, Ice are only seeding based on what they remember from last season,
Yeah,
which there were one, a lot less teams, and
yeah,
two, a lot
definitely.
of teams upgraded heavily this season.
Yeah,
Like if you look at the same roster from last season compared to this season, so I'm gonna take NTU for example. So they were CIT Sprouts. I think they were Sprouts. They were CIT anyway last season. They did not win a single map last season. Now they're actually looking like they could beat us or QU Beers. Like
yeah,
I think in our group, it's them, us, QU Beers, and maybe UU, depending on form.
yeah.
Um, like MTU Run and Nalco, like that's an upgrade.
Yeah, because I done the ICL.
Yeah,
I did a rough roundup of the ICL thing where I watched through the demo and sort of made like a list of swing rounds and stuff like that. And the amount of times I was either typing out the word drags or Nalco,
yeah,
you start to hate those people because you're
yeah,
like, if you just did less shit, this VOD would go through a whole lot quicker. So whenever
yeah,
I saw that, I'm sort of making a mental note whenever I look at a team and go, oh shit, I know who that is. Nalco's
yeah,
one of the players that sort of stood out a little bit whenever I saw he was in Group A.
yeah. No, he's definitely like a few teams have these randomly really talented players on not so stacked rosters. Like another one, if you look at ITC, like Dr. Cock is level 10
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
amongst those guys. I mean, no offense to them. Like I'm sure some of them are doing their best, but like there's a clear level difference, and I'd say that's quite frustrating for him.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, I had a mate who told me for ages, yeah, you can always like improve, and yes, that's correct to a certain extent, but your curve, like for a lot of people, me included, you've got a big bit here, but then you may still slightly go up, but that's decision making alone. You know what I mean? That's not going to be skill, and I think a lot of people are there. There's a couple of people like obviously I did the video on Langusta. In my mind, he's a step above some of his teammates. Was just watching like just the pathing that he takes, like, you know what I mean? A lot of players think that once they get out ramp, for example, on Mirage, you run default and you just go there, but then you're open to so many different angles that a lot of people don't even consider it, instead of like taking a path to let your teammates go here while, you know what I mean? All that sort of stuff. Is there any, obviously you've mentioned Nalco, you've mentioned Dr. Cock and Comeback King. Is there anyone else, or can we just sort of say the rest of the teams are just sort of, you know, they are what they are? There's people are all around the sort of same level.
I would say, yeah, there's a good few examples, to be honest. Like last season for my team, it was Significant, who was like a step beyond all of us. I think he dropped 40 in like 3 different maps last season, and like we still drew most games. Like we were really not on his level. Now, hopefully, I'd like to think this season we've got a better team. But even like UCC, if you look at them last season, they really overperformed considering their roster last season.
Yeah.
And now this season, they brought in a level 10 and a level 8 in place of a level 1 and level 3.
Yeah,
So
no,
like,
that so you're instantly miles better, like.
yeah, and they took 9 rounds off TUD there the other day. Like, not bad on a nuke game, like against TUD when you're not meant to even come close to that.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're a really solid team. And then even UU, like talking about one player, and I know you know, like Jonathan Long or Long, or Long, just as
Or
a bit
Iam, whatever he decides
yeah,
to go by these
whatever
days.
alias
Yeah.
he chooses. I think he is a step above most of those guys just in terms of everything.
Yeah.
And I think I do rate a lot of the guys there as people, as players,
Yeah.
everything. But they have a lot of internal issues, and I think they need to restructure the team around him, where he shouldn't be playing support when he's the star. Is kind of how I see it.
Yeah, but I think some of the problem with a lot of these players, him in particular, but I imagine with other players, is like, you know, if right, so some people are going to be like, for example, like the attitude of a Simple or something back in the day, where you're going to be like, I mean, I can jump and headshot this guy, why the fuck can't you? You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be players that have that mindset of I'm pretty good at this game. What's your excuse? Then you are going to have players like, I know Aim, for example, and there's probably a couple more who are like, you know, I know these guys are trying, and if I can do the support really well, it might help some of these guys, because I'm always going to get my kills no matter what position I'm in. But I do agree, at least with UUU in particular. I know he plays support, and it's like, I've tried having this conversation before where it's like, yes, but you are throwing flashbang. Flashbang does not need skill.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like even like we scrim them a lot because like I'm good friends with a lot of the guys there.
Yeah.
They're a good scrim partner for us, and they're in our group as well. So we'll play them in week 7. But like even it's so simple for me to play against them, not because they're bad, but because they don't set up long in a way that he could shut us out. Like
Yeah.
individually, he matches up against most players in the season or in the league.
Yeah.
And all we had to do, for example, on Vertigo, don't go mid. And he's playing all these bitch positions that he's not there to refrag to get all these crazy rounds that we know
No,
he can.
definitely. Like,
So we literally just avoided mid, and he had no impact in the game, whereas he was easily the best player on the server.
yeah,
You know?
but again, he's one of these people, and like, I've had a conversation with the wider team, not so much about individual roles, but more about like the structure in which they play. Because you're right, in my opinion, there is a lot of internal issues where like, and it you know what, it mainly comes down to experience level. Because as I said, I've played with Long in the past. He has played part of teams. He's been playing since, was it 1.6 or something like that? Like, he's been playing Counter-Strike a long ass time, and you'd like to think so. Because if someone was that good in such a short period of time, you'd be a bit mad. But so in my opinion, for them, it's like difference of experience primarily, because you've got one guy doing one thing, these two are doing one thing, and these two are already on site. So, but it could help maybe if they set up players in a different way. But they have their own sort of like players coming in and out semi-regularly. And I think, obviously I've not paid attention to ICE before, but like, have they had much of a has University of Ulster ever had like much of a presence when it comes to Counter-Strike, at least?
I mean, last season, they're number 1 seed in my group. Last season they got to the semi-finals.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Um,
I mean more so like different university years, because obviously I know the ones who are in the team at the moment obviously have
yeah,
been
yeah.
there since last September, but
I think back when I started, Ben Longer played against me. Like even like when Cash was in the map pool, like a good while ago, we played a map. Maybe Cormac, Ben Longer. I can't remember the rest of that team. They were
yeah,
decent enough. Like they were probably about the same level as us. I think it was a close game.
yeah.
So Ben's been around a long time in ice.
And then would you say the rest of the players are sort of new to the
Yeah,
scene?
I mean, I'd heard of Tonzi, I think, maybe just from Twitter or something. But
Yeah,
like
probably.
Envy, yeah, I think he'd love that compliment. Um, like I think Envy's quite new. Broken, like he's a sound guy, but he's pretty new as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I told you the quote I heard about you earlier, like, so I
yeah,
think that summarizes it.
yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Like I only know Ben, and I think there was a Cormac or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, but it just goes to show like a lot of these guys are like
yeah,
quite new, and there is a decent bit of change from last season at least, because I don't know
yeah.
if it was to do with ice. You would have to jog my memory here, but did a guy called Fleming play for them on ice? I think it might have just been when they played nil. It was one of them anyway, but I know just from him because spoiler alert, he's my younger brother. We both have phlegm at the start of our fucking usernames. Like,
Makes sense.
just from knowing him, one moment someone's on the bench, next time they're back in the team, next time they're not even talking to anyone.
Yeah, I
Which,
mean that seems like a theme because I mean if you follow the Twitter, like Tonzi's kind of come in and out a bit. And to be
yeah,
fair, when Tonzi's playing well, Tonzi can take over a game,
yeah,
but it's just about getting to that point. And I think he's had a bit of a slump the last little while. I think he's struggled.
I heard that.
And
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
and
mean they
like
moved him in a bit.
maybe from like the odd demo as well too. It looks like players are sort of quite individualistic on that team
Yeah,
at least, but people have to learn.
yeah,
But yeah, so we'll go on from that and just sort of like we'll take a step back, because I plan to sort of do it somewhat chronologically, but whenever you've got a good transition, you've got a good fucking transition. But so we'll rewind it a little bit, because me and you share the same org, funnily enough,
oh yeah,
in the
yeah.
form of Belfast Storm, previously known as NSG. I need to find that t-shirt somewhere. We got to give it,
I've got something. Hold on.
please, please. Not quite.
I've got a whole collection that I'm not supposed to still have.
Yeah, I mean, oh wait, hold on. I'll ask you. Well, you know what? We can cut this bit. So Ryan,
Nah,
when
leave
you're
it in, leave it in.
anyway,
You're good.
nah, I was just gonna ask, like, were you asked to give those back by any chance?
I said I would,
Oh, right.
because yeah, but, like, I have a mate that still works there, and, like, he lives about an hour and a half away, and, like, because of lockdowns and stuff, it's kinda become hard.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
when I
yeah.
when I can, I will give it back. I'm not stealing it, but
I
I
mean,
still have it for now.
yeah. Whenever we were part of NSG Academy, I don't know how many people are gonna know that. I think some of the like Curdy and all might know of that, and I know whoever's behind the CSGO Ireland drama Twitter account, and I have a rough
Yes,
idea
yeah,
of who some of them are. They
yeah,
definitely know we were in NSG Academy. They followed us through the I Series bracket, our first
yeah.
ever tournament as young ones, and posted every time we lost, which was every single game. So, um,
God,
we were given t-shirts each that cost about a
yeah,
tenner and said NSG on the front. And the
nice.
moment we got let go, it was like, right, give me those t-shirts back. And it's like, mate, we live in Enniskillen, and you can drive down and take them off our backs. But
Jesus.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just one of those things. But obviously, at the time, you were creative director. You told me off screen that you were brought in for social media. How was like your overall experience? Obviously, you can as much or as little detail as you're allowed to give, but just from like an overview, like how long were you part of the org, and what was your sort of additions, or did you tank the org? Is what I'm
I'd like to think
asking.
I didn't tank the org, but I was on board for about 8 or 9 months. Started while COVID was on, and I finished
Mm,
up about December time. Yeah, I mean, I saw a post. I'd been following NSG for a few years. So I was interested in the scene, Irish
yeah,
esports in general, and and yeah, I saw them posting. I was like, I mean, part of my degree is internet communications, social media.
Putting
So I
a
was like,
spin on things, yeah.
yeah, so yeah, exactly. So I was like, I may as well give it a crack. It'd be good for the CV. I'll interview for it, and I'm quite good in interviews, as I'm sure you all can see right now. So I knew kind of what to say. Like, in any tip for anyone, if you want to try out for a social media job, just say you want to be like G2. You will win every time.
Oh,
It's all you have to
on
say.
Cal
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
supreme. Unreal.
Um, so yeah, that's how I got both of the jobs that I had. Um, and like to be fair, I was trying to do something like that. I just didn't.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I came on for social media, and it was kind of I was brought on sort of to transition away from the old branding. So
yeah.
we had to strategize and plan the rebrand for Belfast Storm, which is going to be just focusing on Belfast.
Yeah, and
Um,
without cutting you off too heavily, was that in the works before you joined, or did you like were you in the room whenever the idea for Belfast Storm was conceived?
So that had been planned. They had the branding, they paid for the logo. They just wanted to smoothly transition away all the
Yes.
socials, make sure that the announcement had some oomph to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of what I was brought on to, planning that for a couple of weeks. It actually took a long time to finally do it because there were so many checks and balances and all this. We had to get an editor. We had to plan the video for announcements, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it actually took a month, maybe 2 months while I was there. And at the time, we actually had like weekly, bi-weekly meetings. Like there was actually pretty well run.
Yeah.
And then slowly, like less people became involved. We had some issues with people leaving. Like in Ireland, everyone just leaves and comes and goes all the time because
Oh,
site
insane.
issues. Yeah, like that happened a lot. So we kind of got set back a few times. And then over time, I kind of transitioned more from social media to posting like tweets and stuff to kind of heading content a bit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be involved in the content creation and thinking about, okay, how can we get more eyes on the brand? And then I actually eventually just became more involved with Stuart. And it was kind of me and him figuring what we want to do with the business.
Yeah.
So where like what teams to pick up. So we actually dragged a CS player. We he was transitioning to Valorant. So I vouched pretty hard. I knew the guy. He played UCD Esports a while ago,
Yeah.
and I made sure like we got to get this guy. So we brought him in that team, and that fell apart eventually. And like just different teams, I kind of became the second guy in charge, and
Yeah.
I was offered creative director eventually.
Yeah, because usually the person at the top of an organization, George strikes me as someone that maybe is more into like Call of Duty and that sort of like environment might be more his personality, for example.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I suppose the person at the top, they might have like their own focuses. So having someone like yourself who's so deep rooted in the Irish Counter-Strike scene, like
yeah,
your actual whenever you tweeted me, it was pretty much like, oh, I know everyone in the scene. I might be the best person to talk to and stuff like
yeah.
that. And it was just sort of like, okay, this guy has a fucking high opinion of himself then.
You got to sell yourself somehow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you kind of what's word I'm looking for here? You overdid it because anyone could have turned around to me and goes, right, I'll talk to you for a bit about Irish Counter-Strike, and I would have laughed
Yeah,
that shit up. But
fair
glad we're
enough.
starting
Yeah,
out on a strong personality, like.
yeah. It only goes downhill from here.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, next I'm gonna be having washed up people who haven't played ice for a season or two. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
But
Exactly.
no, and then obviously you can't say. I imagine you can't really say too much. But whenever that sort of all came to a close, were you just like immediately? Whenever you came out, did you have much idea of where you were gonna go from there? Were you already involved with ICE's social media before you finished with NSG /
Yeah.
Belfast
So
Storm?
when like I had applied for the job, I talked to Stuart and I was like, I'd like to have Ice on my CV as well.
Yeah,
And the immediate difference was Ice was really, really well structured as a company
yeah,
compared to like sort of Stuart kind of had his vision and Stuart wanted this, this, and this,
yeah,
whereas Ice had a person for this, this, and this. And it was a bit more bureaucratic, but it was
yeah.
kind of helpful because there was a lot more, even in terms of branding, they have fonts that they use, they have this and that.
Yeah,
And
it's
like very
structure.
specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I quite like that. So I was doing the same two at the same time. And like obviously I was learning a lot from Ice because Belfast Storm, if I said something, if I said I think we should maybe do this, and it was nice because Stuart would usually take it on board.
Yeah.
Whereas at Ice, I've let a lot less of a voice, or at least at the time I did. But I learned a lot. I try to bring them both over. Even graphics and stuff. Like I do a lot of that.
Yeah.
They have a Photoshop template. It's like they make everything really, really easy for you. And yeah, like towards the end, I kind of just realized like, I'm getting a bit like towards my end of college. If I want to do a master's, I got to focus on my grades.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't really juggle both of these. And then eventually, when I'll start moving more into UCD side of things, running the esports side
Yeah.
as well as playing, I was like, something's got to go. So I figured Ice, I'd probably be getting more out of.
So
So
sorry,
yeah.
at this point you're doing Belfast Storm, Ice, UCD B team, your ship posting website, heading up the esports near enough, whilst trying to get your education.
Yeah, pretty much. So like, it's obviously too much. Like, it's not feasible.
Miles.
Yeah, so I dipped from Belfast Storm. I didn't leave on a bad note. I still talk to Stuart from time to time. I just said, look, like I've got to focus on college. And to be honest, I kind of figured my time with Ice was probably going to come to an end as well.
Yeah.
Especially because I really did not want to sacrifice playing because that's something I love.
Yeah.
So I was like, I didn't want to be in a position where I had to choose between the two. And if I did, it was going to be dropping Ice. So then, leading on from that, eventually, like a week ago, be a week ago now, I just messaged Aiden and I was like, look, I've got too much on in the middle of the lockdown and stuff. It's kind of hard to be organized, structured, yourself. So I was like, I'm just going to have to leave it for now.
I mean, it's good in a way, definitely, to more so take care of yourself. Because as you said, you've already got these things on your CV and it's not going to last forever. You can't be a social media manager forever for maybe a company of Ice's size, for example. I imagine, obviously I don't talk to many of the admins, but I imagine it's sort of like their side thing almost. For some of them at least. Some of them probably get paid enough, but yeah, I mean, what else?
It's still a small enough thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then I had mentioned there, you do a blog. Apart from being like, okay, this is gonna be the fucking Sam show, what was the idea sort of behind the conception of the UCD B blog?
To be honest, at first I was kind of like, okay, like I wasn't running things UCD Esports, and to be fair, officially right now I'm not. Like, there's no title. It's just it's fallen to my lap, and the aboves, the society, just like it's convenient. I can help them out, and it's just easier. Everyone comes to me, and I'll help assign people to teams, yada yada.
Oh yeah.
But originally I was like, should I just make a Leviathan's website to cover everything, make it more serious?
Yeah.
And then the fact that like everyone knows me as the B team player, it's just like it's just stupid. Like I haven't progressed from a B team in 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit of self-awareness. So I was just like, fuck it. Like I had photos of my friends that they looked ridiculous in. So I'll stick it on the website.
You can say that again.
Yeah. So from there, I was just like, okay, and like I've got other friends from school that play UCD Esports, so I could talk about them without getting in trouble with anyone. So then, it's just like, I'll take it a step further. I'll just make it the biggest shit post I can. So interviewing myself, using it as an opportunity to kind of, throw a little bit of shit here or there at certain people.
I mean,
but then, just while I was working at Ice, I was a little bit scared to say or stir the shit, because I was affiliated with them and I didn't want it to negatively affect them.
Yeah,
exactly. Like I could have said so much about UL, obviously back in the day. I refrained. It wasn't worth causing more shit, because to be fair, a lot of the guys there are actually really nice. They just got a bit heated at the time.
Yeah, and people get in their own head and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, if shit happens again, I'm under no restrictions. I'll go for it.
You've been unleashed. You've unleashed yourself, and you're ready to rain hell. Because I was reading. So whenever I was like, right, I'm gonna do these weekly things. Is anyone else doing this? Am I in competition? And I come across your article about like the preview for the thing. I'm like, this guy's so much funnier than me. And I'm like, what am I gonna do here? And then now I know that you're in Group C, and for Group C you just did ... ha ha ha,
Yeah.
and laughed about your own group, and then went on
Yeah.
to the next ones. I'm like, ah shit, this guy's so much better than me. But then whenever I look, you're not doing the weekly ones, and it's just like,
No.
oh, great.
No, mine aren't good. I just like making fun of people.
But I
I'll
feel,
leave the good ones to you.
yeah, but I feel like people are more, at least like with your shit posting, people can get a
Yeah.
laugh out of it. Whenever I'm
Yeah.
reporting on ice at the moment, because it's just like, this team too, this team. The furthest I can
Yeah.
get, like comedy wise, is like, this team absolutely battered this team. This team
Yeah.
contributed to my 16-0 records. Currently, we're
Yeah.
at 4 in the season, which
Are we
is,
actually?
yeah, 4. There was 3 last week.
How many are UL Tropics?
I'd have to look through my thing. I think, did they not get doubled last week?
I thought they did.
They got double 16-0 last week. I don't know if they were the original ones to start the record, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm hoping eventually to be able to talk more and more shit, but at the start,
Do you know, I think it's because like you're on the outside looking in.
yeah.
It's a lot easier to talk shit about people for me because not only like am I afraid, like I'm talking about my friends for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So like I'd be close with UU, I'd be close with UCC, those kind of guys. So I'm not afraid to say something and like take the piss out of them because like I know it's not gonna get back to me.
Yeah.
Whereas like if people didn't know you as well inside ice, it might seem like more of an attack, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, because I'm trying to do multiple things at the moment, whenever I can get set into one lane and when people can start knowing me for one thing. So, if I don't get into casting and there's actual fucking stories to break in Ireland, because it's a bit of like a journalistic drought at the moment. But eventually, like, if enough people listen, I honestly don't really mind stepping on people's toes and annoying people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind. You asked me off camera, I think, if I wanted to be the Irish Thorin, for example. And I think that style is good in a way because it forces people. Like, people will know each week, if I go 16-0, like, I'm getting my arse ripped on this and I can't hack that again. We need to win, more. Like, stuff like that. I'm hoping that's the overall goal because, like, this scene just feels so unprofessional.
Yeah.
Like, all the time.
That's an interesting point. Like, outside of ice, what do we have?
And
Like in the scene.
even inside of ice, it just, like, there's so many teams that are just, as you said, it feels like there's full Gold Nova teams. And, like, you know what? No disrespect. Like, fair enough, you're having crack with the lads, but it even the people, well, I suppose the people towards the top, like, I have a tendency to do this where I go to start a sentence and I think of something better and then think of something better. Like, watching the broadcast, where's the hype from any? Like, the casters don't feel hyped. Players aren't getting interviewed after games. Like, I want to, you want a team that just banged out, get the IGL on and be like, why do you think, why did you do so good? And if it's someone like you and you turn around and you go like, because we're just better than that team, that's great. Suddenly people start getting hyped. Whereas at the moment, it feels like people are playing for like a site. Some people aren't really too fussed.
Do you know, I agree, and I think a lot of what would make broadcasts more exciting from ICE's point of view is building storylines.
Yeah.
And like that's often what is exciting about the pro matches because Simple versus Iwu, the good player versus the good player. You've got all these little storylines that intertwine and make it entertaining. It's drama. It's something else.
Yeah.
ICE kind of want to be very professional, and that's admirable on one half. They want to professionalize the scene. And that we could use that because we can't really have people using gamer words against each other every week.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
at the same time, it like I've suggested as well, like that we do player interviews. There's a podcast or something.
Yeah,
it needs a little bit extra, in my opinion.
No, definitely, and I think it's like, why are we showing games that are one-sided? Like, you can't know that beforehand, but there is a certain, you can kind of work it out which group is going to have an exciting game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason, like, they want to, and they make it clear they want to stream everyone once because it is fun and it does make the game more exciting for everyone involved if their game's streamed. But at the same time, last week there was more exciting games than my team versus ULB. The battle of the B teams. Like, that's not going to get too many people too hyped, and I understand that.
Yeah, and like, was it not? Did Queens not draw on your group last week?
Yeah,
That was obvious. Yeah, the
Yeah.
two group leaders, and like you guys had a bye week already, so you are a little bit further down the table as what you could be if you had every game so far. But like that's a no-brainer. You guys are better than ULB Esports from the limited amount of stuff I've seen, and there was an obvious game in the same group, which is like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for the players if you're showing every team once because the players get happy. But let's be real, no one's signing up to ICE just because they get on the broadcast once. People are signing up to ICE to play some goddamn Counter-Strike.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah.
And like, yeah, it might be better from a broadcast perspective if they do get the better games on, in my opinion. What do I know?
I mean,
so like it's sort of winding down because that's sort of everything for you up to now. More so, we've kind of covered what we think could be ICE could maybe do better in terms of your broadcast. What do you think outside of ICE? We could return to them at a certain point, but outside of ICE, what do you think other people need to do to sort of improve the scene? Because the scene feels, from my perspective, as big as it was a couple of years ago. It doesn't feel like we've got anywhere. We've still got Ventake and Cass and those sort of ones at the top level. Now, obviously, I didn't know of Incipients back in the day and people like that, or Drags or anyone. Because, like, I got kicked out of every tournament, you know what I mean? And it felt like because I knew people from social media, they were the names I focused on a bit more.
Yeah.
But it sort of feels like we haven't really gotten too far. And you can see that by the fact that for a team to even be, for players to be semi-relevant outside of Ireland, they have to join different nationality lineups and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely agree we haven't really gone further. And even the point, like, in ICL, for example, like, it's still the same players playing that were playing back in the older versions of ICL.
Yeah, easily,
Like, I don't know what more, I suppose, like LANs, like the first LAN after lockdown is going to be big, I think. And I'm sure you saw the announcement, Aerolan, the Fletcher and Ruben working at that. I mean, that's what we need, but we need competition. And like competition in any market is what thrives innovation. So ICE right now they have a monopoly in Irish esports, right? And I like the guys at ICE, and I think what they're doing is positive overall. But more competition would be better for the scene, and no one is touching it, and that's because the money it's not there.
And does that, but to further that point, do you hope, or at least do you imagine sometime the competition comes in the form of like someone bigger like Newell coming over? And do you think that if Newell ever did decide to touch Ireland, because let's be real, you saw like Endpoint, like their hub on Faceit is trying to come into the Irish market a bit. Do you think it's only a matter of time before Newell go, right, you know, there's a smaller org in Ireland, let's just go straight head to head with them and win out?
A few things on that. I don't think it's that smart from Newell's point of view, because they'll have share in the Isles as such, but why would, what's this, like, say Newell, TUD, right? They are top of the pond in Ireland. Why would they want to go into Newell and play and not win? You know, like, and the same with like the lesser teams in ICE, even still, like, why would they want to come 120th in Newell when they can come fourth?
And that's fair point, like.
So I don't really see that. I think competition to ICE doesn't actually have to mean college competition, because I don't think, like, I'm a college student and I obviously benefit from ICE. But I don't think that the scene should just be for college students. It should be for everyone. So I think there needs to be more regular online tournaments that aren't exclusive. You know, we need LANs. Like we need a tournament organizer for everyone. And I think that'll bring people together a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about that separately, but the thing I'm worried about, if, say, like someone like ICL or anyone, obviously I have to mention them because my articles are all over there, at iclhub.ie. Basically, like, if someone like them does start running tournaments, my worry is so many people play for ICE that, but whenever tournaments are run, they don't take the ICE team.
Yeah.
to these tournaments to like extend it almost. You get mixes, and those mixes don't stay together. Now, that might be because there's not regular enough tournaments, so there's no reason to. But do you think, like, if there were more regular tournaments, would people maybe, would the ice teams become mixes and then people form teams for these regular tournaments? Or do we stay in, this is the college team, this is your mates you play with every time there's a tournament, we prac for this one, we don't prac for this one?
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of see an example of that through like the ICL 5e tournament,
Yeah.
where like ice was going on the same time as this, and like I could have entered with my ice team, and a lot of people can maybe considered it, but like there's maybe we're forced to play with UCD players in my example,
Yeah.
whereas in a 5v5 outside of ice, you can play with your mates, you can play with better players.
Yeah.
Like say in the ITC example, again, no disrespect, but why would Dr. Cock a level 10 enter with level 3s for an ICL 5v5 when he could play with his mates that are level 10, level 8,
Yeah, exactly. And like
So
I've heard as well, this is some breaking news, but I've heard Long has maybe been asked by other players to play in the upcoming ICL tournament. So it's an example of exactly what you're saying, someone being handpicked from a roster and brought in. But as you said, it's only really a mix, so it's gonna go as far as this tournament. But then that's it, and
that's me, by the way.
I had an idea. I was told UCD players, but I didn't want to instantly go, oh, it's a fucking BooCull again.
Yeah.
Everywhere you turn, it's just like a gif for your face.
I'll take it. I'm God.
But yeah, like, I mean, it's an interesting idea, but do you think there's ever a scenario in which, like, because, you are going to focus more on ice just until... Do you think there's anything that can break that and shift the focus to weekly tournaments? Or do you think, like, because people seem to disappear after uni, people kind of seem to disappear unless they get to stay on as an admin for ice or someone. They have a tendency to just sort of disappear from the scene.
But that's also just a general life thing, I think.
Yeah.
Like after university, people get jobs, they move out, like for my case, I hope to be doing my master's in a different country. That'll be it for CS for me for a while. I'll be disappearing. I'll be one of those guys. So yeah, I don't know what would make people stick together. Like if you were to say tomorrow there's a LAN, would I go with my UCD B team? I probably not, to be honest. And as much as I like the guys, like there's better options. There's some more IRL mates, something.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll take some people, but I think maybe if we're to get money is just the answer to everything, really.
Yeah. No, I was about to say it all comes down to prize pool, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like I happen to know that like there are some sports clubs, like we've seen Munster Rugby, for example, have a League of Legends team. They won't touch CS. They'll maybe touch Valorant in the future because there's a deal with Riot.
Yeah.
But I know Ulster Rugby are interested in esports, and there was talk in the future of maybe them hosting lands, putting up some money because they've got deep pockets. So I think something like that coming in. Also, Leinster are interested. Like some things like that will just pump money in because they want exposure to the scene.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll do it for us, or maybe they'll say, who knows? Leinster will say all colleges in Leinster enter their college team in association with ICE. That's not something I know will happen, but that's something that could happen. It is just money.
I mean, but then part of the problem with that, say for example, you do have an org like Ulster. I know at least for the UK league scene, that was a mandate by Riot. Like these smaller bedroom organizations, like your Belfast Storm or like your Phelan. There's another example. They were told, you can have your team in here, but you need to partner with someone who's reputable. And I suppose that's where the rugby guys came in. We don't really have someone like a Riot coming into Ireland and going, right, lads, we're gonna, you can get your Irish teams into, for example, ASL UK. I mean, you can get your teams in there, but they're not making it a requirement. You know what I mean? They're not telling these orgs to team up with someone, or they're not turning to, like, I suppose the only way they could do that is to turn to one of your like rugby teams and say you have a spot in this league, but you need players from Ireland or something like that. Because the main problem is if you did have a tournament put up better prize money, Well, why would, like, because I remember back in the day for me going to lands, it was your Connor R. Cinder, Windance, all those twats who just turned up as a mix, 16-0'd everyone, way with the prize money every single time. And my worry is, if people just keep doing mixes, even if our prize money goes up, people just keep doing the mixes because the people who are winning are going to continue to win until you have people who want to stick together to run executes. Their skill might not be as good, but if they can run executes, beat the mixed team, eventually the mixed team goes, right, we have to get serious. So it's gonna. I think it's gonna take for a lesser team to get serious, to challenge the people who can just form mixes.
Well, that's an interesting little story, I suppose, because it's kind of similar to what I think back six, the QUB A team and TUD are, and that's a perfect metaphor for it because TUD just go in, they pug every game with just their raw skill, and they just beat everyone. They don't practice, to my knowledge. They don't go. They don't sit in a server going through smokes.
Yeah.
Do you really, like they're 3K elo? Do you think they're going to be
exactly
going over how to smoke CT on Inferno? Whereas back six, from what I've heard, are really practicing. And maybe skill wise they don't match up, but in terms of trying and in terms of actually putting the hours in
overall
as a team,
package, like
that I think that's going to be a really interesting game, because that's what you said. Like, that'll show you which is better essentially in the Irish scene: a really well practiced machine or just five superstars. So I think we're about to see.
So what you're saying is, like, no pressure, but QUB, like, the entire development of the scene rests on you guys showing like what you can do. And I think like that's the unfortunate thing. Like, me and you can sit here for ages and talk about these people need to bring money in, this, here, or the other. Realistically, it just comes down to we've got a very small, not a small player pool, but we've got a small player pool of like top, like, people who could play against you, like big UK teams and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And they have their pick of the litter, like.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy though, because we have a small number of players, because we have a small number of good players. These good players don't play against other Irish good players, and they don't get better.
Exactly.
So there'll always be, Ventakes or whoever beating shitters. But how is he going to progress just by beating shitters in ice?
And it's as you said, like, completely forgot. It's basically no, as you said, like, why would TUD play against harder teams and not win the entire tournament and get the prize pool? You know what I mean? I suppose it maybe then at that point comes down to the drive of the individual players, and like any amount of people coming in with a prize pool won't make a difference unless it's a big enough prize pool to get people from England and the UK to open their eyes, come over, and then beat out these like mixed teams, and then the mixed teams are getting beat by people who are running strats from so maybe we need an import team to come in here and slap some people around. Obviously someone is going to be able to tell me like I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm crap, which I'm crap, but I'm also seeing it from an outside perspective, as you've said. You know what I mean? I understand it's easy to do what those guys used to do, like Wendansky and all. They had their individual teams. Like Connor, he was a part of Excel or Endpoint or something like that. But they just formed the mix to come over here, do that, and then hop back up across the pond, like, to compete in UK Pro League and all that sort of crap.
Yeah. It's hard to know. Like, I guess time, like, it's such a boring answer, but like people will only get better with time. And like, maybe 5 years from now, we'll see people catching up to the level of these really, really top level players. But like, right now, I don't really see it moving anywhere. And like, to be fair, like if there was a land tomorrow, like I said, and you could see each team entered, I'm pretty sure you could instantly pick who's going to win.
I mean, that's what I kind of challenge, though. I like challenge. Obviously, my millions of listeners. This is a challenge, but basically to anyone in ice, next time there's a tournament, bring your ice team and shut these people up. Like, bring like QB or QBA team, like, bring your structure and stuff, and just because TUD. Some of them might play together for these tournaments, but they might grab mates from other teams, so they might not be as good or they might be better. It really depends. But we just, like, I don't mind having these uni teams in these other tournaments. I almost want them to do it just to like mix it up a little bit, because people are going to these mixes and like Yeah, for someone like you, like you're not using your full UCD team for this ICL thing. You picked someone like Long, for example.
Mm.
But then, like, you're gonna see teams maybe like QBA. They might then want to get Long, but you've already got them, so it almost displaces some of the talent. The very top
Yeah.
players are gonna get the other top players, but then everyone else is gonna be sort of thrown all about the place. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, like friends playing with friends is going to. I mean, it's not the best thing. It means we're not building the best competition
Yeah,
because I'm not the best teammate for long. You know, he definitely could find better players. You know, and like I could find players that will fit my play style perfectly.
yeah,
But like at this level in this scene for ICL 5v5 for like what 50 quid or something, like I don't think it's really worth not playing with your mates. You know?
yeah. I mean, I suppose that's a certain point. I mean, I tried to be honest, if I had the choice to form like a good team or play with my mates just for like a one-off tournament,
Mm.
I'm the type of person who would tell my mates, right, like, I want to do good in this tournament. Goodbye.
Mhm.
Even though it's like, it is what it is. No one's gonna be fucking remembering it in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I echo that sentiment, but at the same time, like my friends, I'm only playing. I have a lot of friends that are worse than me. I'm
Yeah,
choosing the
oh
good
yeah, yeah,
friends,
yeah.
so like
Yeah,
it's
you're
not like I'm
choosing the best of a bad
sacrificing.
bunch.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Like I'm not playing with Broken.
Yeah,
I'm playing with Jonathan Long,
yeah,
and like I could play with UCD B, who are maybe my friends and who are still good, but I could find other friends who are better, who have more experience. You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Yeah. So
I
it
mean,
wouldn't feel like sacrificing potential placements for friendship because trust me, I would ditch all of them for a win.
yeah, no, at least that, because I remember whenever I was on the roster with like Marky Mark, Alvo, Long, and Dyer. Like, I have played on rosters where I didn't know people until they were brought in. You know what I mean? And you kind of be happy for that if your team just gets better. I don't care how difficult. I don't care how difficult someone is. I did tell you off stream about like Jason Watson is a terror to play with. I remember he did something dumb, like ran down Cash as a CT with an op, missed the no
Mm.
scope, and was like, it didn't work because I didn't hit the shot. I'm like, no, it didn't work because that was a really stupid play. And then argued for like 4 hours about how I was taking the op off him. But I still played with him. Like, you know what I mean? I don't care if I argue with people, as long as they're a good player. And when we play, they fucking win me a round or something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. So,
I
again,
mean, yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. Like I've played with a lot of people, even in the UCD teams, that as people I really just don't like that much.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But skill wise and like
Worth
in
it.
terms of synergy in the team and what they'll do for the team, like I put it aside because like I'm extremely competitive. So like nothing makes me happier than winning. So like if I've got someone on my team who's a cunt to talk to, but if I only have to talk to him once a week and he'll win me a map, I'll do
Yeah.
it. Like
Every day of the week, like, I suppose it's the opposite of broken in that example. Then, you wouldn't have a beer with them, but you'll definitely play a pug with them.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, no, I get that. Like, I suppose a deep seated frustration just comes from someone like me, where I know I have the attitude. I will do, I'll do whatever I have to get always keep going one step further, but I don't have the skill to have that luxury. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I suppose that's why I kind of just want the scene to get better, because I feel like if I was one of the players we're talking about who would play in mixes, I would be looking to even shed my skin from those players to get like even further. I suppose that's why a lot of people do jump over to the UK scene and do join a team full of like British players.
I mean,
But
you're not going to get to the highest level of VSCA with an Irish 5 star. Not right now.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think so. Like you will. That's why we do see, like you said, those UK partnerships.
yeah.
You know, it's
But
best for the individual.
I'm pretty sure we have players in ASA main at least, so we'll take that slowly
Yeah.
but surely.
Yeah.
I think I won 2 games in open once, so there you go. Best season of my
I'm
life.
entering an open this season
What are you?
with Long as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I suppose you are probably not going to practice it that much, so
Probably not too much. No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. See, for a moment there, I had like a glint in my eye. I was like, is he the chosen one? And then he just went and
Yeah.
shot all over it.
I'll take the title if you're giving it.
But no, like, I feel like maybe we've come to a bit of a stalemate here. Well, I've talked about like literally your entire history in the scene. and roughly why, the Irish scene is sort of stuck where it is. I think as well too, when you need to get the word out more, you know what I mean? Even if some of these crap players start playing in ICL, just boost the goddamn numbers up,
I agree, and I think like that's like as an ICL mod as well. That's one of the most frustrating things. Seeing like at the start when everyone's full of hope, when
Yeah.
ICL's back again, the new season, and like you've got 3 queues on it at once. Like I like seeing really bad players in it because
Yeah.
they'll get better, but also it means like next land there's going to be a lot of people. You're like, oh, you're so and so, you're the level 3, but like you're
Oh
having a
yeah,
beer
yeah,
with
yeah.
them. Like it
Definitely.
only benefits. But I think having like the old like good players, who've been around forever, a lot of the newer players who are not so good find that really intimidating. And like a
Yeah.
lot of them are my friends that won't queue because like why would I queue and get beaten by level 10s? Because like it's not really about that. And like I don't know, I think having that level 10, who's friends with all the other level 10s, it makes it like an exclusive club.
Yeah.
And it kind of fucks over a lot of the new guys.
It feels like that in a way, but the only way to counteract that is to separate it. Level 1 to 5s in this queue, or level 1 to 4s, and we don't have a player base big enough for that, in my opinion. Like, we need to maybe start looking at all the social media channels like CSGO Ireland and then Irish Gaming, like post every second week. Like, have you seen these British ones? BN1?
No,
No.
not familiar.
Well, so I'm in CSGO or UK CSGO as well. Being a citizen of the North, I basically, I'm in a unique position, let's say. But they post there multiple times a week, and their like player base just keeps rising. Don't get me wrong, they're starting to cater to other games, but I think they're starting to do that out of necessity as opposed to future planning. You know what I mean? And it feels like we're not. Yes, we're posting in the announcements that there's a tournament constantly. Where we were doing clips of the week. I can say oh my god, we're both part of the same thing, somewhat. I write for ICL. You're an admin for ICL.
Yeah.
Very nice. But we're appealing to the same people every time, and when those same people are leaving, we're just shouting in an empty room at that point.
Yeah.
So I think we need to just branch out and just like maybe even do community nights, like not even tournaments, just be like, right, Monday 10 mans or something like that, just anything really, because it does feel like we're just relying on enough people queuing up. And yes, like I understand the 10 mans are the same thing as just an ICL queue, but even just do them not using Face It, you know what I mean, or just anything, but
Yeah. No, it's a shame because like I even know of so many people that like don't even play Face It that are Irish that play CS regularly
yeah.
and they enjoy the rides of it, but they'll never touch this world because they're intimidated by it.
I'll hold my hand up and say I'm one of these people. Whenever I wanted to get back into the scene, as I told you, I wanted to play ICL and like get to know people, but I was like, I'm not in the best form right now. I ain't jumping on there because I'm not necessarily trying to improve anymore because I know those days are past me. If anyone wants, I will play tournaments as a fifth or something like that. But I'm not, because I feel like at least decision making wise, I'm at a certain level that my hands don't catch up to. But like, I didn't want to jump in and just be crap because being crap in an MM is something because you don't have, you can just go mute. I personally don't go mute. I'll keep talking unless someone starts getting toxic. But when you're in with these people, you don't want to stop talking because, eventually you just get a bad name in that group. The MM people, I'm not going to play with again. The ICL people, you'll play with all the time. And part of the problem is as well, a lot of the time it feels like it's just admins playing.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be that way because otherwise the keys won't.
Oh, exactly, yeah. And that's one of the things whenever I was writing the ICL tournament article, I was like, oh, I see Incipients as part of a team. Long says he's a good guy to talk to. I talked to him and he's like, yeah, I'm an admin. And I'm like, oh, great, I'm getting a quote off an admin. I was like, that's great, but I can't ask him how the tournament was run, because if he turned around and goes, oh, it was ran terribly, he's shitting on him and his other admins. You know what I mean? No. But is what it is. But yeah, I think we've been going for an hour 15. So
fuck me.
I was sitting thinking when I'm doing these questions, I'm like, okay, these are quick questions, 15 minutes, done. But
Yeah.
no, it's good.
No, I talk a lot of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we both do. I'm saying it's an interview. You, the amount of times I went off on tangents about my experience, I'm just like, set myself up for that self interview.
So what we've learned is that we're both egomaniacs.
Yeah, but you have to be an egomaniac to get in front of a camera and tell people all about yourself. You know what I mean? But no,
sure.
like I honestly I really appreciate someone like you reaching out, because I had heard your name before and I knew that you knew people and I knew that people knew you as well. So like I wanted to start interviewing, but I just didn't know how. Now that I've talked to you, I feel like it's gonna be easier to validate myself as not just someone who's just here to get a name and get the fuck out again. But so I honestly do appreciate someone like you coming on for the first thing, and I feel like I've at least, because I feel like at least I was nervous. You probably weren't, I imagine.
Not so much. No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Thanks. You're supposed to say, yeah, don't worry, buddy. Everyone gets nervous, but basically, yeah, a bit nervous. But you know what? It's questions. It's having a conversation, so it's easy enough.
We're talking about a video game, like.
yeah, you can't be too serious, like until the stakes start getting bigger. But
no, for sure. No, it was fun. Yeah, I always love talking about myself and shit talking others as well. So
yeah, we didn't do as much of that as maybe we could have, but we did a decent bit, Yeah, but no, thank you very much. But this is hopefully going to be a semi-regular series. So I always say semi in case I get bored of things.
Fair enough.
Bring it back later. No, definitely. But thanks very much. I'll end this here. Bye.